ask about self-teaching versus college and how you feel about that, and if you were to go back in time, would you have taken a specific path in college, or do you embrace that self-taught? And I guess
so it really, I guess it goes from person to person. Also, maybe like an internship too is a really good idea, so someone can actually see the real world applications of the knowledge they've been getting from the books. You know, basically like what Paul was doing when he's like translating and then building with his grandfather. I mean, that's amazing. I wish I could have had that. I mean, that's probably the best education you could get.
And much cheaper than college too.
There was no sense of duty or boredom or, oh my gosh, I'd rather be doing something else, but I have to do my homework, in that situation. I really do believe in mentoring. And for years, people have asked me that question when they discover that I am not formally trained, and yet I'm basically, I'm functionally an engineer. And for years I would answer, definitely go to school. I happen to have gotten here by a very convoluted and unusual path, and there's no, it's not like a well-worn path that I can say, oh yeah, this is what you do, get yourself a grandfather, I mean, yeah. So, but I am sort of having second thoughts about that now, because I'm seeing this phenomenon. People are going hugely into debt for educations that are not paying off when they come out of the institutions. And I'm starting to think that maybe we've kind of gone overboard with the idea of you must have a degree. I'll say this, when you're dealing with technical things, you are in fact dealing with Mother Nature. You're dealing with nature. Nature doesn't let you get away with anything, okay? There's no point in cheating on your exams, because when you actually go to do the thing, you either know it, you either obey nature and understand her and learn to dance properly, or it's just not going to work. There's no getting away with anything. So there's no substitute for really getting the knowledge. But when I would hire people, I've interviewed so many engineers in my life for positions. The best ones were always engineers who had done it as a hobby and then had gone to school, and the things they learned, they understood what they were learning, and the ideas were plugging into things that they had a reference frame for. And so, they would understand, and then there would be the other engineers who might have had a great GPA and graduated, and yet had no actual feeling for what the stuff is for. And in a lot of cases, you can get through school nowadays, it goes in one ear and one eye and out the other ear and out the other eye, and you hold it just long enough to do well on the exams, and it just kind of sifts through you and leaves nothing behind. I don't think that education is worthwhile. But it's hard. You can open up a book and study it. There are computer programs these days that are absolutely amazing. Like if you're learning analog electronics, I would highly recommend PSpice, because you can experiment forever on the computer, and it's quite realistic these days. For digital electronics, I recommend, I use MathCAD myself, which I'm not a great mathematician. MathCAD externalizes the math for me and turns it into more of a right brain experience, where you can put a function into MathCAD and then play with it and graph it and understand it as a phenomenon rather than just a dry mathematical expression. So there's great tools for that. And I just want to say one more thing. Every child has a passion. And I heard somebody on the radio on NPR talking about this, and it was some educational initiative somewhere that I thought was right. It was the rightest thing that I've ever heard, and it was the idea that your child will have a passion at some point in their life, in their young life. And all knowledge is connected. Knowledge is all connected. You can start anywhere and get anywhere with knowledge. So if they're interested in trains, for example, you know, if that's their passion, then you go with that. And the turning wheel, and how exactly does the piston that drives the wheel, you know, end up transmitting energy to the wheel that drives the train down the track? That's your gateway to trigonometry. And there's just, yeah, and calculus and everything else. Find that passion in your child and use that passion to drive the educational experience forward. Do not subject your kids to education as a duty. You'll turn them off. I didn't rediscover history until I was 40 years old. What a fascinating thing, but school just ruined history for me. You know, so anyway, that's how I feel about it. I'll get off my soapbox.